Hello students, welcome back. I hope you all are doing well. So let us start with our fifth chapter, An Old Man of Kalahandi. Technological development and the material comforts that money can bring means nothing to certain communities in India. They are happy to live close to nature and be one with it. So there are people who don't care about technological developments or the material comfort, and they are okay with living close to nature and they enjoy living in nature with nature. So Odisha is a state with beautiful thick forest and the famous Chilika lake. It is well known for its beautiful temples. So students, this is a story based in Odisha, and the narrator states that Odisha is very beautiful. It has thick forest and the famous Chilika lake is also situated in Odisha. It is well known for its beautiful temples. The Puri Jagannath temple and the Sun temple of Konark are among the most remarkable achievements of ancient India. So both the temples, Sun temple of Konark and Puri Jagannath temple, they both are also situated in Odisha. They are also landmark attraction for tourists. So tourists across India as well as across the world, they all come to Odisha to witness or to see all these great monuments. However, there is a lot of poverty in Odisha. What do we mean by poverty? Poor. So, however, Odisha is very poor, and there are almost 13,500 NGOs working in the state to help the poorest of the poor. There is a state where many tribal people dwell in the deep interior. So all these poor people, they live in the interiors of Odisha. The women wear brightly colored saris, leaf green, bright yellow, dark red, and simply knot their jet black hair with fresh flowers tucked in. So all these women, they wear brightly colored saris and they loose their hair and put all these beautiful flowers in their hair I choose to travel to Kalahandi. So the narrator is going to Kalahandi, which is situated in Odisha. It is neither a town nor a city, and it is not known for anything special. So Kalahandi is not known for anything special, but still narrator is going there to explore. It is just another part of another tribal district. So it is a tribal district like Mayurbhanj or Korapat. They say that before independence, Kalahandi was ruled by a king. So before independence, Kalahandi was ruled by a king, and the tribals believe that the king was a man with supreme power and was their caretaker. So people in Kalahandi always believe that king was their caretaker. They are so innocent that even today they do not believe you if you tell them the kings are no longer. Even now, if a child is orphaned, what do we mean by orphaned, students? Anath. It will be left at the doors of collector's house. For them, the ultimate protector is the Raja. So even today, after years and years of independence, still people think that they are living under the king's rule and the king is their caretaker. Bhavanipattanam is the district headquarter of Kalahandi. It is not like other district headquarters. It is a small town, quite different from the district headquarters that I know, Dharwad, for example, which is my hometown. Frankly, I was surprised that Bhavanipattanam was such a sleepy town. So now the narrator is saying that it is such a sleepy town. I was traveling with a person who was with me in order to help me talk to locals. So he accompanied another person to talk to all the locals who were present there. Knowledge of the local language is most essential when you want to work at grassroots level. I had 1,000 questions to ask about these tribal people, what civilization meant to them, what their lifestyle was like, and so on. So the narrator wanted to ask so many questions, and it can only be possible if he knew the local language. So she accompanied a person with her so that she can talk to local people in their local language. Normally they are group dwellers. They are not too rigid. What do we mean by rigid? It means hard, which means they were not so rude about rituals like we civilized people are. They are direct in their ways. So now the narrator is describing the nature of the people in Kalahandi, and narrator is saying they are very simple people. They talk in their local language. They are not rigid. They are very simple people. Most importantly, they do not have the concept of individual ownership or property. I was keen to get to know these people. My mission was to provide assistance. So what do we mean by assistance here, students? Help. So the narrator wanted to just help all these people present there because people were very poor in Kalahandi. Assistance to them by some means without hurting their identity. My translator told me that if I had to meet these people, I would have to walk 2 miles. Obviously, there was no motorable road. I was ready. So, the translator informed the narrator that there are no motorable vehicles or anything. So, you have to walk if you want to talk to all these people and put all your questions about what do they do, what is their lifestyle, and about their identity. If you want to ask all these questions, you have to walk. We finally reached a village where I met a lady whose age I could not immediately make out. So now the narrator met a lady. My translator found it difficult to interpret the lady's words because her dialect was quite difficult. So the language in which the dialect, which means the language in which this local lady was speaking, it was very difficult for even translator to know. She was dark-skinned and dark-haired lady. She could not afford to dye her hair. She was so poor that she couldn't afford to dye her hair. So, what was her secret? Which means this lady was looking so young, but she was actually so old. So, narrator wanted to ask her, what is her secret? Nobody knew. It must have been the secret common to all, for not one person in the whole village had a trace of grey hair. So not even one person in this whole village had great hair at that time. I next met an old man. I say old, but again it was impossible to guess his age by his looks. During our conversation, he recalled certain events and occasions from which we concluded that he was about 104 years old. But he didn't look like anywhere close to 104 because he looked so young. I got into a lively conversation with this gentleman. So now the narrator is having a lively conversation with 104 years old man. I asked him, who is ruling our country? So she asked, who is ruling our country? Tell me. From his country clearly meant Kalahandi. So he didn't know anything about India or anything, and for country it meant Kalahandi only. He looked at me and smiled at my ignorance. Don't you know, he said, it is a company sarkar that is ruling our country. He meant, of course, the East India Company. The old man was not aware that the India has become independent. So now the old man is telling the narrator that it is company Sarkar's Raj and it is the East India Company which is ruling our country. Are you so silly? Don't you know? I showed him some Indian currency and the Ashoka Chakra emblem. He was not impressed. He said, that is just a piece of paper. So now the narrator is showing notes to this 104-year-old man, and the old man replied that this is just a piece of paper. How can you look at it and tell who is ruling? It is Gori wali Rani who is ruling us. So till now he doesn't know that India has become independent, and he is thinking that it is Gori wali Rani from Britain who is ruling us. I knew that the barter system was very important to the tribal people. So I asked him about it. Do you know this small piece of paper can buy firewoods, lots of saris, bags of salt and plenty of matchsticks, I remarked. So now the narrator is telling, don't you know that this small currency can buy you anything? It can buy you firewoods, lots of saris. So he looked at me sympathetically. So he looked at the narrator with very pity on his face and said, for this paper, people fight, go away from our ancestral land, leave our forest and go to the cities. Without that piece of paper, have we not led a complete life? So now this old man is saying that without this piece of paper, we would have led a very peaceful and a complete life. But with this currency, we are fighting with our ancestors, we are leaving our ancestral land to earn this money. So is this good? We want a peaceful life at the end of the day, but this currency is making people fight, which is not good. Our ancestors did. We are children of God settled here happily without this paper. This wind does not listen to us. The rain does not ask our permission. So now the old man is telling the narrator that we don't need money for water or air. We are satisfied and we are happy with everything we have with us here. These are gifts of God. All the water, air, they all are gift of God. How can we sell or buy land? I do not understand. When nothing is yours, then how can you make such transactions? How can you give and take such a thing which has been given to us by God? This little paper of yours can turn life upside down. It can make people fight and develop grudges. I had no words by way of a reply. So narrator is just standing there and listening to wisdom words of this old man. And I was convinced that I knew more than he did. We know about currency movement, political parties, about the difference between Bill Gates and Bill Clinton. Here was a man who knew none of them, yet knew that nobody owned the land. So this man was so humble and with so much wisdom that he knew that this little piece of currency can make people fight, and he needed none of them, that God has gifted us so many things to make our life prosperous. Who is more civilized? So now the narrator is asking, who is more civilized? Is he more civilized or I am more civilized? This wizened old man in Kalahandi forest, or those of us with our fingers on the pulse of the internet? So now even the narrator got to know that the old man had more wisdom than her. So this brings us to the end of the chapter, students. I hope you learnt a very important lesson of your life today. Thank you.